Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Steve, your host, and in this episode, we're on to everybody's favorite, individual track links. Now, these are the magic tracks that came with the Panzer III H. I was hoping they were going to be clickable, but they're not. But one benefit is they're already cleaned up for us, so I've got some ways that I just make it easier for myself. Hopefully, it can do something for you guys. You guys enjoy the video, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys. Thank you. Okay, welcome to Indie Links. To start off with, let's get some low-tack artist tape. I think Scotch makes this brand, and you'll see why it's effective here in a second. What we'll do is we'll tape it down with the tacky side up on a flat surface, and really what it allows you to do is it allows you to lay down the tracks without them really being stuck to the paper. It's tacky enough where it just keeps the track in place. And when you go to remove it, you're not battling the tape to take it off. So what we're doing now is I've got one track down, and now we're just going to make a line. I'm going to break this up into 4 parts. We're going to do the lower run, which is in contact with the ground. We're going to do the wrap around the drive sprocket. We'll come back and do the wrap around the idler. And then the most important piece is the section of track that go across the return rollers, and that's where you get it all to fit. So you can see, however you want to do it, I just use a hobby knife, and I just kind of pick up the track links, put them on the tape, and they stay in place. I'm not going to bore you with the whole assembly. We'll transition to the full track right here. So I've got a run made, and it's looking pretty good. At this point, I'm not really worried about if it's straight or not, because the road wheels will take care of that. That'll get it all aligned. Just seeing if I've got enough, which I do. If it's short, if the lower run is short on either end, it's not really a problem, because you can make up for that when you have when you do the wraparounds on either end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some glue across it. And in this case, it's the Tamiya thin set. Now, there's a number of glues out there. People like the Revell Contactor. I don't mind using the Tamiya thin set. It's got a quicker drying time, but it doesn't completely cure solid for a while. So even with Tamiya thin set, you've really got enough time to work these. So now I'm just making sure all the tracks are flush and ready for the install. Now I'm going to use the hobby knife here in a second to take it off the tape. So I'm just going to gently slide that under to break the bond. Doesn't take a lot, and then I'm going to move it on to the flat piece of the ruler. And you can see it's separated. I don't worry about that. I'm going to move that over. And I'll get that fixed. And it doesn't matter. You can see I put the back piece in front now. Doesn't matter. You're looking for the length is the most important bit. So we'll just make sure all these guys are flat. It's pretty straight right there. And we'll just add some glue where the track's separated. And now we'll just see what it looks like, and it's a good fit on that. I've got just enough where it covers the contact portion of the ground, and the wraparound you'll see here in a minute. We're going to start assembling the wraparound for the drive sprocket. You'll see why it really doesn't make that much of a difference if you're not exactly right on the bottom run. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and, again, on the low-tack paper, on the low-tack tape, we will just assemble this run. I think the kit, I want to say the kit says 89 track shoes per side. Sometimes, every so often they get the count wrong. I just kind of eyeball it, and with dead track, you can make up a lot of ground when you put the sag in the track. So I don't really get wrapped around the axle about how many track shoes I'm using. I just use enough to where it looks right. So you can see here, came off the tape pretty clean. Just going to make sure it's bond. You know, the track shoes are bonded. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make the wrap around the drive sprocket. Now it's important with the drive sprocket that you haven't glued that in place, because you want to get the teeth to line up before you do any, final gluing with the drive sprocket. And what you want to be careful is, with this method, you are not attaching the tracks permanently to the road wheels or the drive sprocket. You're not doing that yet. You want to be able to make sure you can get this off. And you can see in the video, sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it doesn't. Patience is really the key here. So the bottom run is still loose. It's not attached to the roll wheels. You want to get the connection made, and you just want to put a bit of glue in there just to anchor it. Again, you're not gluing anything to the suspension, so you're going to find that sweet spot on the sprocket, and you're going to wrap it around. And we'll just rotate it up here so you can get a better picture of that. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. And what you want to do, you can see you've got the tail end. I just make sure that's pointed at the return roller, because I want to be able to make that transition from the drive sprocket to the return roller. So I want to set that transition up here. So you can see I've got a good wrap around the axle. Around the drive sprocket. And now what we're going to do is we are going to work on the wrap for the idler. Really same technique. We're not doing anything different here. Just make sure when you're doing this method, because I'm right-handed, all the tracks point the same way, whether I'm doing the left side or the right side of the vehicle. You want to make sure when it's on the vehicle that your orientation is right. You don't want one track on correctly and the other one reversed. If you're doing that with rubber bands, it's not a problem, but with this, it's a real problem. So as you build these, just keep in mind how the track actually fits on the side you're using. So I've got this guy glued up. Just going to make sure that all the tracks are settled, and we'll just slice them off. So again, your setup time where you can actually handle the tracks is a lot quicker with the thin set than some of the other slower curing glues. So here I've got the vehicle upside down. We're going to do the idler. And we're just going to get him. We're going to get him started. We're going to get him connected to the lower track run. And, things happen. I think I lost a track shoe there. It's not a problem at this point because we make it up with the final top run. So we're going to put a touch of glue there. That keeps him anchored while we're doing the wrapping. Again, do not glue this to the suspension. Only the track right now. Is the only thing getting glue is the track. So hopefully we'll get a better shot here in a second. We'll get him aligned in the idler. There we go. We'll put the vehicle down on the side, and just kind of gently, just going to wrap him around. Okay, you can see with that last road wheel that it probably needs a bit of work. We're going to straighten that out here with the rubber band. The last road wheel in the idler, that's looking a bit funky. run of track, but with a rubber band, we are just going to tighten it up. And doing this with a rubber band, I think, is a skill. So if it takes you a couple times to get the rubber band on, don't worry about it. It happens. Right? And with the rubber band, you want a rubber band that's just tight enough. You don't want it super tight. You just want to be able to just hold the tracks in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to snap this guy in place. And it looks good. You can see the way it's picked up the track between the last return roller and the idler. We are just going to make sure that the excess track that's coming over the sprocket and the idler are setting us up for our return roller run. So what I'm going to do now is I let this set overnight. I really wanted a solid connection before I did this. You could probably wait 2 or 3 hours, but I had done this and I thought, okay, I'll just let this set overnight. So in a minute here, we'll transition to the top run. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything I did to get the top run to fit, because this is a bit fiddly, but this is where you really make your money. You can see that I've got a really good wrap around the drive sprocket, around the idler. It's looking good across the road wheels. You know, it's as it rises up from the road wheels to the sprocket and the idler, it looks good. And we're going to start this other run. So there's enough magic tracks in the kit. If you lose a couple of them, you got extras. What's nice about these were really clean. The connection between the tracks, even though it wasn't clickable, they just fell right in there. So I was pleased with that. So now we're just going to kind of eyeball it. I'm going to end up having to add some more track. Pour a couple more out. I'm going to have enough to put spare track on the vehicle, because these vehicles always carried spare track. And when you're doing this portion of it, especially with dead track, one track shoe can really make a difference on just how much sag you have. So even though the track shoes themselves, width-wise are only a couple millimeters, it really makes a difference on the kit when you're trying to get them to connect and get the sag right. So you may have to tinker with it. And again, even with thin set, you've got enough time to do that. So you've got more time than you think about this. You just don't want to rush it. If you're not happy with it, just keep working with it. You can add or remove until you're happy with it. So we're just making sure that all the tracks are settled into each other. One thing I like to do, where I've got the hobby knife or just had the hobby knife pointed, that always seems to be towed down. So you just want to make sure that that's as level with the other tracks. When you do this, you'll see what I mean. So track broke apart, not a problem. We're going to get it on a hard flat surface, and then we'll just bring it over, bring the other piece over. Doesn't matter if it's the beginning or the end, same track, same length, and you're fine. You can see the track has got a little bit of a twist in it. It's not a problem. By the time you feed it through the return rollers and make the connections to the run from the sprocket and the idler wheel, that'll all take care of itself. So what happened there? It looks like we're still a bit short. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board and add a couple more links. And again, it's not a problem. Patience is the key with this. You know, and if you do it like this in the bottom run, sprocket wrap, idler wrap, it's just easier. And instead of just trying to do it in just one 89 link piece, I just think sometimes that gets a bit fiddly to handle. So over the years I've kind of done it this way. So off the tacky tape, it's hard to get these guys to cooperate. So I've got this bit back on the tacky tape. We'll get him down, and it should. I think that should do it. It's just going to be just 2 extra shoes. Nope, maybe one more. And we'll just run a bit of glue on him. Do a measurement. That's what I was doing there, just to make sure. And again, I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not counting track shoes. I don't think I can count to 89 anymore with any accuracy. But as far as this method, I think the Panzer III and 4 tracks are really good for this, because they're all the same. They fit well together, and they're dead tracks, so you can kind of, with the track sag, you can get them to fit right. Let's see here. So we should be ready to bring the vehicle over. And here we go. That's a better shot, and we'll just kind of pick them up, and we'll get them on there. Now with this, avoid the temptation to glue both ends. You don't want to glue one end in. You don't want to glue both ends in, because then you won't get it off the vehicle unless you can pull all the suspension components off with it. And I haven't done that, so I'm only going to anchor it on one end. But thankfully, with these tracks, I can dry fit the other end and it'll stay in place. So that makes a big difference. So we're just going to be very carefully get that guy connected. We're going to come up, and I think we're going to glue this end. Let me see here what happens. Yep, we're just going to put a little bit of glue on this end. He's set, and now what we're going to do is, this is going to be the most fiddly part of this whole enterprise. You want to get the track run on. You want to get them anchored on one end. And I just use my sprue cutters, and I'm careful not to put enough pressure on it to work the track in. Okay, so with that, we're just going to make sure that the tracks are pushed together. We've got some glue in there. And we'll just a little more glue just to steady it up. Because if you don't get it anchored, what happens is it'll overlap on either end. So you don't want that, because that'll mess up your track sag you're trying to incorporate. So on the idler end, nope, I'm sorry. So on the sprocket end, I just dry fit that. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going to be very gently. I'm going to put some track sag in. And this is where it gets fiddly. Take your time. You've got more time than you think. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I have the track sag across the rollers, and it looks realistic, that I have an equal amount of sag on each side of the roller, so it looks real. So now I'm going to get the rubber band in place. And I am just going to I'm going to dry fit this connection. I don't want to glue this. So there's a real temptation to glue this. I think off camera I actually glued both ends, and that I thankfully got caught myself. So the end that I anchored with glue on the idler side is good. So now what I want to do is, see, I've got some overlap near the drive sprocket, just a couple millimeters. So with the sag, I'm going to work that. I'm going to work that. Move that back to where they'll connect correctly, and just do that with sag. So again, I want to make sure my anchor point's still good. Okay, so I've got my anchor points, and I'm just going to gently work the sag. Now, to be fair, I don't know if this sag is a bit exaggerated. For my purposes, I'm gonna say no. I do a lot of Russian armor on the IS series. You get a lot of sag in the tracks. Yeah, your mileage may vary, so whatever you're comfortable with, either just add or subtract a track shoe on this upper run, and work it in with that. This is really allowing you to do the adjustment. You can see on the track on the other side, I don't have that connections hanging loose. That'll allow me to pull that whole run off and paint that in one shot. But right now what I'm doing is I'm just getting this in place. Take as much time as you need, because once you walk away from this, however you left it, that's what it's going to be like. It'll be hard to do any kind of adjustments once this is made, because you've got the sag across the rollers, you've got the end connect, you've got your anchor connections are in a set place. So just make sure you're happy with this. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure it's similar on both sides. So just do a bit of fiddling. I want to make sure I've got the right amount of droop on either side of the roller. And we're just making adjustments here, because like I said, once this sets, that's the way it's going to look. So I just want to make the adjustments around the return rollers, just to make sure they have the same there. And it just didn't look right, so I'm just going to go back and doing some adjustment. Want to see what it looks like on the other side. You can see how I've left the drive sprocket. I haven't glued that, so you can kind of roll it in and roll it out as needed. Both sides look about the same. And I'm just giving it the once over just to make sure I'm happy with what it looks like. Just trying to match it to the other side, just for consistency. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out.